Alrighty, hello peoples. It is Ben here from Second Dynasty, coming at you from Vanished Boy, which is very rainy today, which can only mean one thing: the water that is much needed for the spring is coming. I make 3D printable starships and deck plans using the OpenLock system. Basically, if you're into Warhammer or other tabletop gaming, I kind of make terrain that you can print out on your own printer to save money. To build encounters. The tiles we're working on at the moment are completely modular, although we also make complete starships. And bye, Lisa Lot. Lisa Lot is back in the office this week. She just left though, so yeah, we'll have to save that for next time. Hey Zarma, the sound is low, you're saying. You sure it's not on your end? I can... Let's see, it's not that they're... I guess I can move it a bit closer. Let's see if that's any better. In any case, it looks like it's reading off the right microphone. Do you want to test it, Albin, with headphones? We have this very dark scene. This is just some scene lighting in Maya. If I actually turn the lights off, you can see it's we have our scene here. I've actually switched out the regular background so that it was just nice and moody. We have continued on doing the tiles we've been working on, the project we're calling Starship the Next Generation. Really, it is a relaunch of our very oldest tiles done with more modern methods. We have a whole bullet point list of the cool changes that we've made. And my test scene is getting bigger and bigger. I have it here. We'll show it a little more close up in the future. Not sure if it's the mic or how far it is from me. Okay, well, I have changed the sensitivity of the mic a couple of times. What I can do is boost the decibels of it. So if you want, I can... Wait, how do I do that? Let's see. Properties, maybe? No. That's odd. I would have thought microphones... It only has like a max volume. I can sync the volume, I can't increase it. So I guess you guys will have to put up with this for now. Because I'm not sure exactly how I can fix that otherwise. Alright, in any case, you guys, yeah, I can probably play with the mic gain in the future, but it needs to be done via software, which will take up the stream, so I'm not going to do that right now. We have had quite an eventful week, but most of it has been focused on, you know, taking these concepts and making them completely printable. If we look at our latest sort of build plate that we've got going on, all of these models are in the export folder, so they're basically production ready, ready to be sent out. We're still waiting on the exact date from my mini factory, but I'm hoping for the 27th of April. That will be a Wednesday, our traditional sort of window, barring that maybe the Friday when they go live with their weekly send-outs. There are a few things I need to modify here, these walls in particular. We're going to do that in a second. But let's look at the things we've made in this past week. So just before, back in November, we did an official traveler campaign with 1 to 270 and tactical scale miniatures of official traveler starships. We are at the very end of deliveries for that campaign, and I will switch to my close-up camera. Let's see. I wonder why the volume is so low. This microphone, I have a feeling it might have slightly been damaged by static electricity, so hopefully not. I could switch to my camera mic, but I don't think that would be fun either. Hello, everyone. So, yes, why the close-up? Because we're going to take a look at some of the ships. So, this is the Type S. Come on, there we go. The Type S in 1 to 270, this is done with a FDM printer, and this version has the snub nose, of course, and the winglets. We actually do have a secondary version that is a little bit more snug than this one, with 2 clips at the back here. You can kind of see the rear of the ship. So this is like my favorite sort of silhouette for the Type S that we did for the Traveller universe, which is based on the Murphy deck plans from Traveller 5. So, of course, my phone is trying to ring right now. I'm going to ignore that. Hang on a second. And it's probably just one of those robot surveys. Right, the next one. This one's from Peter. It's the last model that Peter's doing. It is that ship that has the funny name, the Pinnace. The Pinnace Mightier. Yeah. I think it's a cool little ship. Of course, this is an Ian Stead design, based on older Traveller deck plans. It came out quite nicely, I feel. Yeah. It is. I mean, the basic hull shape does live up to its name, but it's more aerodynamic with all those wings. So yeah, I mean, it came out very well, I feel. Peter's done quite a few ships for us on contract of late, so we just want to take a minute to thank him for his great efforts as we finish up our final deliveries, basically. And then the final ship that we have yet to put out is the Type J Second Dynasty edition. So this one does have a few minor flaws that we're addressing, namely that the turret was integrated, I think just because John was tired. He's got his new Prusa Mini up and running last night. I talked to him this morning. It was 3 a.m. local time, so I think he's been up all night. And he did the tactical version, obviously with the turret built in. So I feel maybe he's exported the wrong version of that. But Albin has since put in the turret emplacement. So all that remains is for the supports for the SLA versions to be done in shitty box, and Albin is working on that. We'll have that out to you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow we should be putting out the 1.0 version of the stretch goals, concluding the deliveries for the Traveller 2 campaign, which means we can solely focus on Starship: The Next Generation and on of course, the Beowulf, which we're working on in our spare time. Although this week I've not done any work on the Beowulf. We haven't really had time. So here we have Starship: The Next Generation. It isn't, because I don't have it flat, flush, as you can see. Oh no, she lost her head.
Oh no.
This is not good.
Oh no.
The beautiful head. Oh no. I'm klutz. So you can see here just a small scene, kind of similar to the one that we have built up in Maya. You can remove the top part for easy play. We've got some nice... We've got a nice little iris store happening here somewhere. There we go. Alright, so you can play out your favorite nightmarish ship games. Your Geiger-esque dreams. Your Ron Cobb love letters.
Very teasy language.
Well.
We got a comment here earlier. Tamsin, first of all, thought the Pinnace looked really great.
Oh, he would say that, wouldn't he?
And then she said, "Woohoo! I'll set aside time for downloading everything tomorrow." That concerns the Traveller things, I think. And Sormer wondered if the Next Generation is a update. Do you need to buy new tiles?
Well, it is an update, and they're essentially brand new tiles, but we're going to have, as usual, an update pledge level. Basically, we're going to do a very simple campaign on MMF. It's just we want to keep our big campaigns for Kickstarter, MMF, as our sort of smaller campaigns one. So we'll do a smaller campaign with these tiles. We'll do. Geez, they just will not stop calling me. I'm just going to turn the sound off, guys. I'm sorry about this. All right. At least it's not my wife. Not that would be a bad thing. I just meant like it's not an emergency or anything. So we can see. Where was I at, Albin?
I just wanted to put a thing in there that is that Tamsin is a girl, so she goes by she. And Blotted Camouflage says hello. And then we were talking about if it's an update or how it works when you buy the new tiles.
Yeah, that's where we were. Yeah, sorry. We're doing what we would call a quick starter if it was on Kickstarter, so a shorter campaign, more focused, just the old Starship One tiles for engineering corridors and the base tiles, and basically it'll be, I'd imagine, around 100 tiles. I'm not entirely sure. Certainly after any stretch goals, we will do some stretch goals, but basically it'll be a lot of revisiting older stuff. So we'll do, this style of stairs and whatnot. Basically bringing things into line with the fidelity that we offer on our more modern ships. This is a way of keeping our business rolling so we can do a proper job on the Beowulf, because as wonderful as the Traveller 2 campaign was and went beyond our expected levels of interest, we still, it takes 5 months to do a ship like the Beowulf, and although it's half finished, it's getting there. I would say I've probably got another 6 weeks left before we can get it into full production, and then we want to send it off to get reviewed and do a proper job of it for once, basically, instead of feeling rushed. So the idea being these smaller campaigns could keep us running for a while so we can put more resources into the final product when we do a big campaign later on in the year. So it'll just have 2 pledge levels. Upgrade if you backed us at any point in the past, and this will be just an honor system. So if you haven't backed in the past, there's technically no way for us. We're not going to be checking our records to say, oh, you pledged for an update level, but you never bought the stuff. It's basically just going to be 2 price points on an honor system. So people who have previously backed for anything that came from Starship One, the price will be $25. For anyone that's new, $50. That's it. No additional add-ons or exclusive add-ons rather. Just the tiles, and we will have unlocking of stretch goals for a while. But that's it basically. Keeping it simple, and we'll see how that goes. We're planning to also do the alternative version of what I call the Mark IV shuttle. Maybe at the end of May if this sort of model works, and that should keep us going over the summer until we can launch in late August to September. So that's what the plans are. Hopefully that answers some questions. Yeah, there is a couple. I can review some of the new addition. Basically the way that we've been thinking about things. And yes, there certainly will probably be options to add some flexibility with coin cells and maybe the sort of string lights, LEDs, so that you could potentially have them rigged in the walls. But at the moment, there's no inbuilt lighting. But because we have really tried to rethink about, getting the most out of your FDM printer, the biggest change we've made has been with the open lock tiles. So these are now all support free, and our thinking is to build these modular so that we can support 3MF more fully in the future. We're working on tools for that, but it's going to be a while out yet. So on your print bed, these all print like so. This maximizes the detail you get because the obviously the Z height on FDM machines determines like the fidelity, right? So you get a higher fidelity tile if all of this detail is on the side instead of on the top. Also stuff like ironing and that sort of thing kind of ruins this detail, less so if you're doing it on the side. The other benefit of this is it means that on FDM machines we don't need any supports. These are thin enough walls that we don't have to worry about any of these, basic open lock clip supports. Although I just realized that maybe, oh, that's not right. Just the way that those tiles are connecting together. There's meant to be a cavity in between, but still. We'll talk about that in a bit, Albin. In any case, that's the benefit of the floors. If we want to look at the walls themselves, and I'll grab the base tile walls at the moment. Whoops. So, we're building these kind of modular. You can kind of see here we have the open lock frame. Very simple. Sort of optimized so that we know what we're going to build around, right? And then we have like a front side and we have a back side. The back side needs a little bit of filling in here, but we have left a little room where you could conceivably put a coin cell battery in here. And as you'll notice, only half of the wall has come with it. So the second half of the wall has these sort of male connectors, so it's not a firm fit, it's fairly loose, but when you have a complete wall put together, it fits in with a rather satisfying click. I've kind of assembled all of this at the... Oh, there's that bloody wall I was looking for. I'm just trying to see if I can find... Yeah, that's got one. So if I just switch over to this close up again, you can kind of see the bottom of a doorway. You can see the top of a doorway. Printing out the top half separate lets us print like this, which means we can have overhangs in a way that we couldn't otherwise have. But yeah, connecting these together, it's just as simple as putting them in like so. You can kind of hear a click, hopefully. This grips it fairly well. It's just a snug fit. The more parts you have connected together, the snugger the fit. So that's one of the other benefits. And then, of course, as I mentioned, being able to print like so means that we can keep more detail towards the top of the tiles. And if you guys have ever watched any science fiction, you'll notice that a lot of the sci-fi details are actually in the ceiling. So this lets us add back a little bit of that detail. So you can see it on your tabletop. And then, of course, practically, when you actually do have an encounter, you can have it all nice and set up with the full walls and everything. And then when you actually want to get into combat and you want to be able to see what you're actually doing, you can just pop off the top of the wall. So it's sort of like the best of both worlds. And then finally, the next improvement that we've done, maybe not finally, but is we've changed the method of connection for the corner pieces. So we actually are using our sliding clips that we, let me just get this out of expert mode. So basically they slide up into here. They don't hold all that snugly. It depends on your print orientations. But these clips do secure the corners in a much better way than the old style ones. I had it here somewhere. Let's see, just ignore this stuff, guys. If we look at the open lock patterns we want open lock for walls here. So you can kind of see it has the I, L, O, T and X connections, but you could only ever put one clip in one direction, right? So this actually lets us do all four directions, potentially even more than four directions, because technically we could cover, you know, a whole T section there if you really wanted to, with these pieces, with the sliding clips. So gone are the days of, you know, pieces not connecting. This is a way to solve that technical issue. So I feel we've solved a lot of issues. One issue that did crop up though is like the outer corners like this we've made really nice, but I realized that this part you can kind of see, here's the base tile, and this sticks out hanging over the edge. This looks great on a straight wall, but if you were to put like, let's take this base here. Actually, that's a bad example. Just duplicate this, and we're going to change the grid to be 4 instead of 96. I've been working at like parts of an inch at the moment, so we're just going to rotate this around so that that wall is flush with this wall, and you'll see we have issues of intersection going on. These parts, right? So this works in Maya, but once you have physical parts, this isn't going to work out, right? So what I'm working on now, and why we're calling this episode Doors and Corners, is because we're working on this inner corner. So I'm not sure if there is an open lock part for this. I think there is some kind of EN corner there, but I don't see anyone that uses like a single wall. So we may well be creating our own, or possibly doing a variant where we just include both this tile and the wall. So yeah, I've just been working on this corner wall. This all follows the same sort of pattern, by the way. Oh, I just realized we didn't add those little ring ridges to the corners. Maybe that's an idea to do, Alvin. So yeah, there will be room for customization, and doing a wall or two which does have some lights built in should be possible. And even when you're keeping the two, the top and the bottom parts separate, what you could actually do is just here, maybe the bottom part's better, I'm not sure, but you'd really want to keep the lights in the top. But there is room to sort of just add like a channel here on the edge where you could feed a wire, so that potentially this could be, you know, wired for a light. But I think that would require you almost to have a part of the wall which slots in to sort of cover the light pieces. In any case, so the next big thing to fix this corner is to A, figure out what kind of wall we want here, and B, we need to do the top section. So we also don't have a backside for that, but I'm guessing Albin has done an outer corner for this sort of thing. So there's a ton of different variants, but by making it modular, you know, we won't always be able to cover all bases, but I'm guessing that during the campaign, people are going to start asking, hey, I need this piece. Hey, I need that piece. And during the campaign is when to ask for that stuff, when we're like looking for ideas for stretch goals. I don't know how many we'll have. It's not the primary focus, but we feel we're already adding a lot of value for money. A lot of our philosophy this year is just sort of like not trying to devalue our product. I'm not saying we won't have a ton of stretch goals still, but we'll have higher funding points, for example, before we get into it. This year is about making our business a little bit more sustainable. Because you know, we've got 3 people employed at the moment. That costs a lot of money to keep running. In any case, we'll see what happens. We wouldn't be going anywhere without the support of you guys. So, let's see. I was just about done with the base. We do have a little bit of a hole here that we have to fill in, but I'm thinking here we're just going to do an engon bit ugly, but it should resolve just fine as it is. Here we probably want another engon, but we're going to actually triangulate this. Now, if I triangulate this straight away, we get this ugly, undesirable result, right? So really we want this to fan out. So the trick is just to add our own, I'm going to turn off the snapping, to add our own sort of like triangle. I'm not sure if this is, it's hard to tell if there's like a central point or not. There might be. But if we take these now, we get this nice fanning. And we can go... Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. But that's a nicer result, right? Looks a little bit more natural when smoothed out. So we can go up now and look at some of the challenges that we have. So I'm going to do a full copy of this, and if we look in our outliner, you can see at least I've been naming the groups correctly. And if we expand this, you can see it's actually composed of a bunch of different submodels. These all have the same pivot points, so that when we export them, everything ends up in the same place. So if we just select all of these models and export it to STL, everything would end up on the STL where it's supposed to be. If these points weren't the same, like one model will be off over there, another one will be over here, and it won't look like the pipes will not sit inside the housing, right? So we're solving that by working in this manner. Now, if I move this in here, essentially what we need to do is rotate this 180 degrees. Let's see, that's 160, 175, 180. You can kind of see down in the bottom corner when it is rotating, the numbers have a little cheat sheet down there. This is not aligned to the grid, so we're going to put on our grid snapping. Wait, did we switch back to 96? Why did that happen? I think I did too many undos. So this should snap more rigidly. There we go. So this is the frame we're working with. This outside may well change. I mean, on the eventual version we do, which might have a... God, what's the word I'm looking for? Eventually we'll do a version which has corridors on the outside, a version that has more engineering on the outside. We'll do versions of engineering too that doesn't have pipes. But the point of doing all of these models rather than combining them, by having them separately and having them existing in groups, is to future-proof them for 3MF as a format. So in the future, you should be able to take individual components in like Prusa Slicer and move them around. So for example, this piece here, you could just like, for example, make it offset or print in front of something, or just delete it because you don't like that feature. Wait, is that really just sitting there? We've got two different models there. It doesn't quite fit. Huh, I hadn't noticed that. Well, I guess I'll be fixing that later. So yeah, next step then is to look at the wall. Although I'm not sure I'm finished with the floor, because the question is, how are we going to cut this? Are we going to make this a 3x3 tile with this built in? I would say no. And the reason for that is, again, the floor tiles are optimized to print in a different orientation. If we, I'm just going to save this project in our prints folder. I won't be bothered naming it or anything, just because I'm going to be mucking around in Prusa Slicer quite a bit. And I'm going to go into our engineering tiles here because we have a bunch of floor tiles to import. Now they've imported just fine. there are a couple of issues with orientation. There are a couple of issues with issues with the meshes. We're not focusing so much on this because we're going to be mesh mixing it. Not mesh mixing, net fabbing it together to ensure that nothing goes wrong. We do have to fix the S bases because they're supposed to. The central clips and the side clips don't really have a good way of connecting. If we look at oh god, where can we find it? Let's see. If I just open one of these, I'll put this over here, downloads, and then I am sure I have in here an OpenLock folder somewhere which has all the parts. Do I not?
The standard OpenLock or?
Yeah, they're templates. I guess I don't. Huh. Been a while.
Put a file in our system, a Maya file that has all the floors.
Yeah, we can just look at an older one. Let's see. STL files. Well, let's go back into Starship 1, right? And look at some core sets. Go into the engineering tiles and we'll grab an S tile. And we should be able to look at this now in our 3D viewer. You can see the supports are still in on this one, but here you can see that the clips are actually connecting behind these cavities, so they're not actually snapping into place at the moment, because if we look again at these S tiles, when you actually put the OpenLock clips in, they can snap to this side because there is a cavity behind here, but they can't snap to this side because there's a wall in between. So really there should be only these wedges here and not a wall in between. So for example, if we take this base, what I'm saying we need is to get rid of these.
Yeah, if you try...
oh, they are... There we go. So this is the version we're supposed to have. And this will print just fine as it is. Because if we grab all of this object, you can see that both sides of these wedges have plenty to grip onto when it's like rotated on its side. So there'll be no printing issues. And why I remove these supports, A, they're not needed anymore. FDM machines are good enough that they can do bridging. They can't do bridging like this without it drooping. But they certainly can work on the side, which is better fidelity. Yeah, it takes slightly longer to print, but if you do lots of tiles at once, it's not as much of an issue.
We got a few comments.
Yeah.
First, JTS said, "Loved expands, shout out in the title. Was it intentional?"
Yes, it was intentional. We are big Expanse fans here. In fact, we have built an Expanse style ship. The project name was the Notanante. It ended up being the Sleipnir. You guys can actually see, maybe, let's see, what am I doing? Close up there. Over in the corner, let's see, there it is. So that's the Notanante version of the Sleipnir, which is like the closest after all stretch goals and that. Albin, you can see, is actually over there. And I don't know if we can actually walk the camera around. I don't know if the cable's long enough.
Not sure.
It might be. I have no idea what you guys are seeing, but there's the Sleipnir there. I don't know if we can reach the light or not. I don't think so. So, yeah, sorry if it's a bit dark. And of course, you guys can't hear me at all. You can see I also like Macross. There we go.
A little bit of a tour of the office.
Also, I guess my shirt. Yeah, so...
Then we got a comment here earlier. Hey guys, any chance of you posting your best guess dates for upcoming Kickstarters so I can budget?
Yeah, this shorter campaign, upgrades $25, full if you haven't owned previously tiles in this vein, $50. We're looking at April 27th, it'll run for a month. The type, the Mark IV shuttle, which we've been working on. This guy. We haven't set a price yet, probably in the 20 range. Let's see a close up there. So this is more a Battlestar Galactica style version. It'll let us go back and add even more options to the shuttle range. That's the idea anyway. We're probably looking at May, June for that. End of May, beginning of June. The Beowulf, in all honesty, I think it will be September. We might shoot for late August, but I think in all honesty, we're looking at September. Here's the front. She's a big ship. Alrighty, so hopefully that helps address those questions. Again, sorry about the microphone. I'll try to increase the volume for next time, but I need to manipulate a few things in my system. I know you aren't going to be making new pieces, but I don't think I remember seeing an original Star Trek style Jeffrey's Tube pieces. That would be nice. We are going to eventually be making new pieces, probably in the vein of stretch goals. I would want to fit in thematically. We have done a whole series of... sorry, I was just going through fixing these. We have done a whole series of crawl spaces, but they were more in the Alien Isolation vein. I didn't know that's a tidbit, Tamsin. Thank you. So, we've got a couple more meshes we want to correct. And there are a few orientations I'd want to change too. You can kind of see here that the pipes are built into the floor. These grids, although yes, you might lose your keys more easily, print very, very nicely as you saw before. And I mean, just compared to the level of detail we had before, there's just so much more now. And we haven't even test printed in resin yet. Oh, that was my third point. Why we're removing these supports is for also the ease of printing with resin. We're not going to support resin printing because that would be a nightmare for us. And a lot of people have reached out and said they like making their own supports for resin anyway. So it seems a waste to put a lot of resources in. It makes sense if you're doing miniatures, character miniatures. What we're doing, not as much. But most of these base forms, because we're doing the top and the bottom, they have very minimal issues with suction. So there might be a couple of issues when you get down to the bottom of, say, like these are going to be filled in. So there are these cavities. We've been talking about maybe draining them. We're not sure yet. We need to test print that. But they do print a hell of a lot easier in this format than they do with the regular versions, because the the pre-supports are a nightmare to remove from resin printers. It's a waste of resin. They're brittle. Other parts can snap. Here we have much better SLA friendliness, I guess, even if we're not necessarily saying you should print these in SLA. Obviously, FDM, not as good quality, but we certainly got more quality out of these prints than we have in the past. God, why didn't I show off this on the table instead? So this isn't really fair because it's next to a painted version, and I don't know if I have anywhere to match up. Oh, we could do this. That's kind of nice. Let me just actually show you guys what I'm doing. That might be helpful. So let's switch to the close-up camera again, and we're going to come down and we're going to have a look. This is Starship 2 level stuff, so this is the S tiles. It's a bit wider. Why it's not focusing, I don't know. And there we go. and here is the new stuff. So I kind of got it lined up here so that the crawl spaces are aligned. Even just the detail in that, you can kind of see how much neater the door is there. And in fact, I think it's a print floor, but it has this tiny little hole in the middle. And if I remember correctly, the Nostromo ones also didn't quite close 100%. So that's obviously the inspiration. Here's our crawl space for the engineering style. The walls. Again, these are the like I series, so it's like a 1/2 inch wide walls from the OpenLog set. These ones are actually the S tiles, which are 1 inch wide. But you can see like this is the detail of those walls before. Granted, a little bit more angled, and here is the newer version by comparison. So, and right now, because this is a standalone, the top and bottom aren't really snapping 100%, but you can kind of see we have improved the overall look. We have some lights built in, the pipes are a little bit more custom, and almost, I would say 90% of this prints without supports. The only really place I put in supports is with these sort of like pipes, right? You can kind of see from that side. And if you want real detail in these pipes, one solution could be you do FTM on the bottom and you do resin on the top. So I kind of like how things are going. Again, this window printed, support free. Pretty pleased with that. The floor detail really pops, and you can kind of see the pipes disappear into the floor. So yeah, right here. There we go. So I'm going to move these models back over. Hopefully you guys are a little bit excited about this and can see the improvement. I know I can, so hopefully you guys can too. Let's see, did we have any comments on that?
They were talking about Don Quixote, not a donkey shot, but the book Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
Ah!
Yeah, does that bring you
weird.
back to animation?
I read it in like Swedish for ages ago in school. But that's weird. I thought it. How did you say it? Quixote?
Don Quixote.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've
it's.
been saying that wrong forever.
Well, I mean, I probably didn't know it when I was at an age where I don't think we ever had to read that. We had to read some pretty boring books, but. So yeah, we are looking at this corner piece. So, were there more comments other than just Don Quixote?
They were talking about references between the books of
The Expanse, yeah.
And that it might have brought the name from another series as well that was called Space Viking.
Right.
Or a book or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they thought the scene looks good, and someone said, the Dalton said that he would love to see a series of walls that look like they are padded panels over the walls with ladders going sideways up the corridor to look like the ship was designed for loss of gravity. That sounds sweet.
Well, that's what some of the handholds have been in the past. And you can kind of see in the corridor version, they do have these sort of handholds in place, set out evenly. So there will certainly be some options, and especially when we get 3DO online, probably we're still looking like at a year of development before we get things to that stage, but still. Oh, new things from last week, we did the lower pipe version as well. We had these, we were working on this last week. With these sort of pumps and valves, or whatever we want to call it, and we did a lower version, and then of course these are both compatible, so you could just do a version where the pipes go straight through. And I'd like to do some versions where the pipes disappear altogether, and we have a version, you know, without pipes, or so that you could actually build like a network of pipes that makes sense. but I feel we're in stretch goal territory with that. So, because there could be just like a lot of iterations, even with like having, you know, 3 different wall styles on one side, and then the other side you've got, you know, the base walls and then 2 versions each. So we've got 9 versions of, you know, the same kind of wall if it's just like a plain wall, right? And then 18 because you got top and bottom. So, oh my god, we are not at all looking at like 100 files. This is several hundred files for $50. So I think it'll end up being quite good. We have redone the doors too to have a couple of windows in. I'm going to do a couple of different patterns and things. A lot of the really weakest stuff from Starship 1 we're going to redo.
Do we have plastic that we can use and try in one of the windows?
I don't know. Unless you want to go grab a Coke bottle or something and cut it up.
Could have a shot at it.
If you want, but not many of the doors actually are intact because they were printing a bit thin. I don't know if they're too thin. This
It
one.
might be something return to next week, perhaps.
If you want to do it now, Alban, you can. We had a door here somewhere. I think I dropped it.
I'm completely interrupting the stream at the moment.
Yes, I know.
There's one. Is that good?
This one at least has on one side,
Yeah.
so yeah. There's some wall thickness issues there. Alright, we're going to keep going for another 15 minutes. I know this doesn't really lend itself well to the time frame. What I'm thinking of is that we do have these is it half tiles here? So I'm just going to grab this, making sure again we're going to make sure we have the group selected for this one, which we do. GRPIA, which is a tile, engineering to corridor bottom. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Again, we've got it snapping to our grid, and what I'm looking to do here is essentially replace, let's see, again, if you look down in the bottom right corner, you can just vaguely see me switching this over to 90 degrees, and I realized I've been moving the microphone away from me again. That's not very helpful. And I think we're going to essentially just replace this here, right? So we're not going to have, I think we're just going to have the wall essentially be like this piece, then another piece like that over here. So what I might do is combine these elements. So I'm going to get rid of some of these parts. Again, I'm just going to make sure I did actually duplicate that. Yeah, I did. So that we can like reuse some parts from this other mesh. So we'll delete these, we'll delete this and that. And again, you can see all these modular pieces so that we could do all kinds of stuff. Like you could, well, I think I deleted something I shouldn't have. We can do all kinds of stuff with this, like add on, you know, bolts to make this look more like 40K. We can get rid of this more Ron Cobb-esque piece of machinery, replace it with something more, you know, antique looking. Just give them a complete do-over. You know, you can switch out the lights so it looks a little bit more high-tech. Lots of options coming down the pipeline, but again, not quite yet. We'll be doing that in the future. Just going to isolate this again to figure out what I deleted. Looks like I didn't actually delete anything I shouldn't have. You might notice some of these parts are actually intersecting. The idea is that they're all manifold. Let's see. I would love to print this out at 15mm scale. Do you think it would be much trouble to print in resin solid at 50% scale? I think that will work. I don't think you'll lose too many details in particular. You definitely couldn't do it on FDM, I don't feel. Oh, we actually need to shore up those this N-gons in there at some point. But if I now go back to this wall, we're essentially just going to delete everything here that isn't relevant. So Or am I? So we'll get rid of all of that. And then we're also going to look at these pipes. Did you actually get it working?
Kind of. It's a bit of a rough cut though, but it's actually plastic in the door, or glass, I guess.
Huh.
It might be sharp.
Yeah, I just stabbed myself with it. Thank you for the warning. Alright, so if I close this up, you can actually maybe not see just yet. You can see on the back side there. Let's see if we can get this in focus. Come on. Not the hair. Focus on the fingernails. In any case, you guys can see there's a piece of plastic inserted into this window. And I think he's just taken that off a Coke bottle. So that's the idea with a lot of our like straight windows and that sort of thing, that you wouldn't print the pieces for those windows. You would just cut them up from what you've got. And what did I want? I wanted to, actually we'll go back and undelete some of these. But I am going to move them back to match here. So we're going to switch from grid snap to vertex snap, so we can just bring these in line here. So we're just iterating from models that we've already made. And in this way we can just do so many variations and permutations, right? And we, again, from this side, we just want to bring this piece back so it's all hitting the edges just here. And for the red one, there is like another option where we could potentially like have this as its own wall piece and then this as its own corner piece, but I think honestly it's better to do this as like a 2, 1, 2, or I guess really you're talking about 1 inch, half an inch corner piece. We'll have to iterate, but hey, it's not the end of the world. I think we also need to grab this piece and duplicate it. And we'll want to get into our editor here with the channel box. I think we go -1 here. And then we're just going to rotate this again 90 degrees, 85, 90. And we're going to snap it here somewhere. And this acts as our, I couldn't possibly have hit the right spot. All right. That acts as our sort of like support here to make sure that this piece can print support free, right? So again, that's our overall goal. We don't want drooping. For reference, Dalton, the 15 millimeters here on the would be 54% of what we have. So we know that the open lock clips print just fine at 15 mil. I've seen people do it on FDM machines even. So they do function. They might be a bit more delicate, and resin will certainly do it. So, and I think at those scales too, if you print solid, it's not going to be an issue. When we test print, we're going to probably print solid. They'll be a bit heavy, but it'll be worth it. So again, we're just getting rid of the stuff that we don't want on this one. We don't need the base. Actually, we don't need all of that. Oh, why doesn't that want to delete? We can just get rid of this in general. I don't know. Actually, we should have probably deleted the group. Assuming we can find it. Alright, so this whole... Okay. I need to think more properly about this. No, okay, we'll just delete this piece for now. And when we go back and look at this piece... Whoops. Why is that intersecting? Oh, right, because there was a a gap there before. So we want to get rid of that wall actually. And that's the one we want to get rid of. But we only want to get rid of this. Wait. This piece, and this piece there. All right, so it can be a bit confusing getting rid of all of these pieces. I guess we can actually get rid of the other side there too, because we're going to keep all of this base. So really, it's just that little corner piece that we want to keep, and the piece that's there. So let's go back into this again, and we're getting rid of all of this. So all of the corridor bottom group actually. So we're just keeping this tiny little piece here. Wait. Oh, and that was in a different object there, so we're going to put that there instead. Very nice. And then essentially we want to combine this group, which I'm surprised it's... Okay, there it is. So it only has 3 components, which is all the more reason to switch to this one. This one, basically, I must have joined the groups together. It happens. These little rings here are just built into the print, basically, to get that snugness. So it goes... let's see, I need a drink. So we'll be mirroring this on the opposite side as well. We are missing out on a nice bit of detail, and I kind of don't love having just like where's the wall? So you can kind of see with the 1 inch wide wall, we don't have all that many features. It's just sort of like this tiny little thing, right? So it might not look good. We might do a version where it's like, oh god, that would take way too much as well. Really, if we're doing this that way, why are we even having connections in the walls? That's making unnecessary cavities. I may need to rethink this. So we could potentially just make it here, and then make like a 3 wide piece, because I know OpenLock does support it. It's like this BA, right? Or BA to AS tiles, which is sort of like 1.5 inches wide. So we could potentially have that, and that way you can sort of like have some of this gnarly wall designs. Although, I guess technically we could also do something like this, where we just move everything over. Whoops. Like so. Yeah, this will actually be much better. Maybe I was overthinking things. So yeah, it'll be a little bit more cramped in the corner there, but that actually doesn't look too bad. We could maybe put some extra features on there instead, because that's one of the things we're working on. Having a bunch of like, you know, instead of just having like these vents or whatever the hell they're supposed to be, I have no idea. You could have flat panels, you could have like toolboxes, you could have storage units, pumps and machineries, computers. There's lots of different things you could do. I don't know exactly what would be ideal in the corner, but I do know that this design to me looks a lot sexier than what we used to have. And especially when you put on the mood lighting in Maya. Look at that. Now that looks like a corridor where there could be something hiding in the dark, waiting to ambush you. And hug your face for a while. To continue the life cycle. Especially with these little floor vents, you know. I should have just animated that so I could make some noises like shh. That doesn't sound anything like metal on metal. Whatever. Oh, I just saw the miniature again without its head. It's a sad day. It's also 4 o'clock, so maybe we will wind things up there. So I would like to thank you guys for joining us today. Sorry if it's been a bit rambling. Again, tomorrow we'll have our final release, or rather the 1.0 release for the stretch goals of the Traveller Starship Miniatures Kickstarter campaign. I will leave the pledge manager open for a while longer, and until we do another Traveller campaign. Although we'll slowly be moving out those stretch goals into individual objects. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us. I had a wonderful time, and we'll see you next